Las Vegas. This is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat. Here's your host, Janet West.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing on day 3 of NAB? How are the feet down there? Sore, okay. Have you been to some good parties? No? Oh, good. Well, right, well, I welcome you to this afternoon's session on sustainability. Very interesting, we haven't had them before. We've had debates this week on 4K, virtual reality, media asset management. You might be wondering why there's a session called Sustainability Goals is Broadcasting Playing the Game. Well, in November last year, the COP21, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's the 21st session of the Conference of Parties, 190 countries around the world. They agreed on the adoption of the United Nations General Assembly, what they called Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, basically what that is 17 goals that we have to achieve in the next 15 years. Now, there are some concerns and issues, whether it's neodymium that's getting used in these earpieces that I've got or that we have when we're listening to our iPhones. Some rare earth elements, they're expensive, but they're lightweight, and this industry wants to have mobile connectivity. Now, we've also got millions of flat screen TVs. We're migrating to 4K. So all these screens, LCD screens, are going to end up on landfill. They've got mercury in them, and without proper treatment, these used LCD screens could lead to serious damage to the environment. Another thing that a lot of companies are thinking about to reduce costs is creating low energy. Sounds great, doesn't it? But unfortunately, there's a rebound effect. You create something which is low energy, well, then we'll do more. And finally, something that doesn't get talked about is the social implications of devices that have created isolated individualism. Now, how many parents have we got in the audience? How many parents have got young kids? I'm sure you all know, yeah, exactly. I'm sure you know the problems, don't you? I can see you smiling, of kids absolutely becoming addicted to devices. Sure, you can choose as a parent to say no, but it's not easy. And then when I actually talk to companies at an exhibition like this, I often get, well, it's all too expensive. Well, I do recycle. Oh, it's too expensive to hire a sustainability person. But you know, there are some companies that are devoted to sustainability, and we have some of them here. And we're going to find out why they've got sustainability plans. Now, I'd like to introduce my guests. I've got four guests: Andrew Bender, Tanya Roche, and Lars, and I can never pronounce your surname, Lars, but from Genelec. But I'd like to go now, or introduce you to a lady that you will see on screen shortly. We have a lady, line producer of Casualty, live from the BBC in the UK. Now, I'm going to show you a clip of the show, so you get an idea of what she's doing, and then she's going to talk to you about how she's been managing sustainability on the show and the advantages, and some of those advantages are financial. So can we roll the clip? Oh, it's going to take a little while.
Emergency department?
Believe me, this lot are the best. Oddball, maybe, but the best.
Well, can't imagine it any other way. But it come out of there, and you feel you've done something. Maybe saved a life. Let's see what we can do with the rest of our lives, shall we?
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give her a big hand. She stayed up late. It's 11 o'clock at night. Wendy Wright from the BBC in the UK. Wendy, are you there?
Hello.
You're there?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi,
Me.
Wendy.
Hi.
Wendy is line producer of Casualty. You've just seen a clip. This is a weekly episodic. And I want you to tell me, Wendy, why you got interested in sustainability here, and also about Albert. Some of our friends in the US might not know about Albert, but it's something that is being used by a lot of production companies in the UK. Over to you, Wendy.
Well, I first got interested in sustainability because I wrote a paper on it as part of my master's degree that I completed last year, degrees in production management. So that was where I was first introduced to the concept. At that time, I wasn't a line producer. I had another role on the show. So it was only when I became the line producer and actually had the power to do something about it that it really took off for me. So first of all, we were all involved in Albert, and I'll explain what Albert is. Albert is a carbon footprint measuring tool that was initially developed by the BBC and then has now been adopted by BAFTA and is used widely throughout the UK by all the broadcasters in the UK. So that's a tool that we all use. We put in meter readings, we put in the amount of paper we use. There's all different data we input, and then it spits out basically how much carbon
So Wendy,
production is using.
So Wendy, it's a piece of software that you put in all the information, is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So following on from that, we've got the measuring tool, and then there's one stage further, is called Albert Plus, and that's kind of like the philosophy behind Albert itself. It's about making you think, and productions think about what they can do to make their productions more sustainable. And it's designed to guide you through every aspect of production and really make you think about what you can do. So when I became line producer, I decided that we were going to go for this Albert Plus accreditation. And we started to look at what we could do. And we've actually managed to make lots of changes, which resulted us being the first UK drama to be given the highest accreditation of Albert Plus in the UK.
So Wendy, can you tell us some of the things that you do on the production to make it more sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky in one sense that 5 years ago we moved buildings. We were moved into a purpose-built studio in Cardiff that was built in a very sustainable manner. So everything was there to make life as easy as possible. We developed the lighting. The old saying is necessity is the mother of invention, and that was certainly true for us, because after all our new sets had been built, and about a week after we'd moved in, we had a visit from the fire service, who determined that our sets were so realistic that they weren't sets at all. It was a real permanent building, and insisted we had sprinklers and heat sensors installed. So after we'd all had a little lie down and recovered from that, we then had to think, okay, we've got to have this sprinkler system. How do we make sure it doesn't go off? So the answer to that was to get rid of all hot-bodied lamps in the studio completely. So the obvious answer for us was to go completely low energy lighting. So it's fluorescent lamps, it's LEDs, it's everything. And that's taken off because by now we've got a 512 channel lighting board, and every light on that set has its own channel and is individually dimmable. So we can literally just switch on the lights we need to the section of the set we're filming on, and that's it. It's instant saving energy. Because the sets, there's 3 studio stages and they're huge. Other easy wins was overnight I decided that you'd have to opt in to receive paper paperwork, whether it be scripts, schedules, you name it, you'd have to opt her in. If you didn't opt in, you just have it all received on email, or we've got a cloud-based sharing service that cast and crew can go to get the information they want. And literally overnight, we reduced our paper consumption by 75%. And I, as a result, have been able to reduce my budget line by £5,000. So that's the real amount of savings annually. And that was really, really easy, because hardly anyone noticed, actually. They were so used to looking at their smartphones, their iPads, accessing that information. The lack of paper actually went unnoticed near enough. And of course, those are the measurable things. It's not as easy to measure how much it saved me in waste disposal, but certainly we're getting rid of less paper, so it's got to be, cheaper.
And I believe you got rid of certain things like plastic bottles on the set.
Plastic bottles are all gone. We have reusable aluminium bottles and water points, cooled water points all around the studios. And we've got heated thermal cups, so I don't have paper cups anymore either.
Yeah.
So all of that has saved me another, £8,000 a year. It's unbelievable. Yeah, these are
substantial savings. Wendy, can you tell me, how does the crew react to making these sorts of changes? Is there any resistance, or are they all for it and they want to stay working with you?
Yeah, like I say, the paper and the water bottles was really easy, and there was no resistance at all. I was quite surprised that there was resistance to them introducing the mugs and getting rid of paper cups. People didn't like that, but I basically stuck to my guns and refused to back down. And within 4 weeks, people had got used to the change, and I now don't hear a peep about it. So sometimes you just have to be stubborn.
So overall, well, we women are quite often stubborn, aren't we, Wendy? So overall, you've made quite substantial cost savings. I mean, in addition to the environmental savings.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, like I say, the easily measurable savings for me add up to about £10,000 to £12,000, and that's just paper, batteries, and cups. Like I said, there's the energy savings from the lighting. There's savings in the waste management. But we're in a building, studios that are shared by 3 other productions, so those costs are shared by them as well. So it's not as easy for me to break those down. Yeah.
Wendy, it's been an absolute delight having you with us here at NAB Show Live. Give Wendy a big hand, everybody. Thank you very much. And I'm going to wish you good night, because I think you probably want to go to sleep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. See you soon. Right. So that was interesting, wasn't it? Right, back in the studio here at NAB Show Live, I'd like to introduce in more detail Lars, who was born and bred and educated in Gothenburg, Sweden. And he spent 30 years in the audio monitoring business. In 1992, he became an employee of Genelec, and the main focus that he has is expanding the distribution of the network in the world. Now, next to Lars is, no, it's not Wendy, it is Tanya, but we need to find that. Where is it you're from, Tanya?
I live in Maryland, halfway between DC and Baltimore.
Oh, okay, right. So, right, we haven't got Tanya, but if you want to just give me a brief background. What's your background?
Sure. I've been in film and video production for over 20 years. My husband and I have a small green production company, and it's been like that since its inception, Think, Speak, Act. And we just do our best to make great video and also be sustainable.
Okay. And next to you is Andrew Bender. And Andrew is Chief Technologist, Global Accounts at Hewlett-Packard. So I'm going to start with you, Wendy. Wendy, Tanya. It's difficult when I've been talking to different people in different areas. What made you decide to go green? What was the motivation?
Well, I have been interested in the environment and sustainability basically as long as I can remember. I think I was in an environmental club in high school. I don't know that we accomplished a lot, but we, talked about ideas and in college. And then as a professional, it's just always been a part of my life. I'm very interested in recycling. I'm very interested in taking care of nature. When my husband and I created our company, I had been working at the U.S. Department of Justice running their multimedia section, and we decided to create our company to serve the D.C. Baltimore area. And that was one of just our founding principles. We wanted to have a green company. And at the time, in 2004, most people were like, what does that mean? Are you more expensive? And we're like, no, that's just what we do. And nobody really cared. It wasn't like a huge advertising point for us with clients. It was just something we wanted to do.
Okay. So we've learned a little bit from Wendy what she does, and I'm sure you have lots of things that you do. But why do you think other production companies aren't jumping on the bandwagon to address sustainability when we've seen not only can we make environmental savings, we can make financial savings?
Well, I think that for a lot of companies, right before the recession started here in the U.S., there was a big trend to start going green, and it became sort of this buzzword and trendy, and it was sort of exciting because for people who had been green for a long time, I'm a member of the Green America Business Network. It was a very exciting time because all of a sudden it was going mainstream, and it seemed very popular to call your products green or your services green. And then with the recession, it all sort of died down a little bit. I think for a lot of people, they just may not see the importance of it. Or if they do, they see it more as a corporate structure. The corporation says, oh, this is great. Let's have a green policy in place. We'll have some recycle bins. We'll do this. It'll be great. But maybe it hasn't trickled down to have employee buy-in, because I know I go a lot of places and I see producers just toss a script in a trash can, or, oh, let me just leave all the lights and my monitors on in my edit suite overnight. It's no big deal. So I think it's just getting to stress the importance of it. It does make a difference if we do it, and making it easy.
Okay. I'd like to go to Lars. Now, I've worked with Genelec, and they invited me to the most fantastic party near the Arctic Circle, so got to party in the midnight sun when they were celebrating 35 years. And it was at that time I realized what they had been doing, not just recently in sustainability, but since the company started. So Lars, I'd like you to tell me, how did Genelec start in sustainability?
Well, I guess it comes from the fact that, where we come from. Finland is a country with a population of 5 million people in a quite big landmass of 340,000 square kilometers, which gives you a population density of about 16 people per square kilometer. And so we have a lot of land, we have a lot of forest, we have a lot of lakes. In addition to that, our founder and main owner of the company was actually brought up on a forest farm, and that's where his parents was used. And he has now taken that over. So at the same time as he is leading a company and developing new products and so on and so forth, he is also foresting his farm. Okay. And as you know, or may know, or may not know, if you take one tree down, you have to plant another one, at least another one. Mm-hmm. And this is something that, obviously, he has gotten with the mother milk, so to speak. So the choice was quite easy when he founded the company and the factory from the very beginning, build this into the company structure and the design process, also together with the quality system.
But I understood that there was quite a lot of waste from the pulp and paper industry that started, and also waste from the aluminum plants. And therefore, he started thinking, what could he recycle?
Yes. One example of that is that the quantity products that we make today, we make from die-cast aluminium and recycled aluminium.
Yeah.
So basically, old beer cans. So drink more beer, so we can make more loudspeakers. Okay. So that's one example of the whole thing. Other things are like, where do we get our heat from? The little town where the factory is based has 24,000 inhabitants, and they have a central heating station. which is also very green, where they use natural gas and so on and so forth.
Lars, when you are developing in your research and development area new products, do you have a specific methodology that they're going to incorporate design for the environment, so that they're going to be looking at whether it can be recycled? Are they getting the materials from closer places rather than far away places? Is that something that's just part of the business strategy?
Yeah, it's part of the structure. I mean, everything, I mean, we do simply, I mean, has to be green. It's in the backbone of every individual in the company, basically, and also, I mean, it's built into the quality process.
Yes.
In the company. I mean, we obviously are 9001 approved and 14001 approved as well.
Okay, and I believe you actually repair products.
Sorry?
I believe you repair products.
Yes, we also pride ourselves with the fact that our products are highly reliable and last for a long time. It's not unusual that we can get products into our repair station that has been in the market for 25 to 30 years, and we can still repair them. So people who complained when they bought the product that it was damned expensive, if you look at the number of years it's been in use, it's not so expensive actually when you buy that kind of quality that lasts for a long time.
Well, I remember one of the people at the party was from one of the top recording studios in Tokyo,
Yeah.
and he actually said, "I've had this speaker for 30 years."
Yeah.
They fix it every so often, but it still pristine and works well. So that's actually brilliant. And obviously with sustainability goals, we need to look at gender balance and gender equality. I believe there is an issue, well, there is something that you're doing in Genelec.
Yeah, I mean, our production crew, so to speak, is, I mean, I wouldn't say 50-50, but it's I mean, there's a lot of women working in the production.
Which, having just run the gender balance session earlier and knowing that sometimes it's only about 5% in the industry, I'd like to say congratulations on
Thank you.
helping us women get work there.
I mean, we wish we could find more females in sales positions, for example, and also, I mean, marketing positions is not so rare and not so complicated, but sales positions and more technical positions.
Okay.
But that has more to do with also where we are based. I mean, as I said, we are in a small community, and recruiting people is not always that easy.
Okay. How difficult do you think it is for companies who haven't had 35 years experience to develop a strategy for sustainability?
I don't think
because
it's so
you have a lot of international distributors, you have a value chain, a supply chain. How difficult is it for the others?
Well, it's not so difficult in Europe because we have, to a certain extent, I mean, common rules for the green values, you can say, for the handling of waste and so on and so forth. But of course, I mean, when you go further on, I mean, to Asia, for example, and to third world countries, it's not so easy.
Okay, right. Well, this has been fascinating, and we've got another half an hour after the break. So we'll be coming back with Lars, Tanya, and Andrew, and look forward to seeing you. See you in 5. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Christine Steele of Steel Picture Studios. I'm here today at NAB, and I am with Stephanie Mullen of Rampant Design. And I'd like to hear a little bit about your tools.
Sure. We at Rampant Design, we create style effects, and style effects are basically tools. They're overlays, transitions, animated mats. We have everything from film effects to light leaks to light overlays, that kind of stuff. So basically, we like to think of us as the little salsa, the digital salsa you put on top of your video. So just a little overlay to put on top, make it look really nice and polished, and send it off. So easy tools for everyone. For doesn't matter what your platform you're working in. If you're working in Final Cut, Premiere, After Effects, Avid, Sony Vegas. We work in everything, so that's good.
So I used Rampant Design Effects for years at ABC editing their promos, these are incredible tools. I really want to hear more about how you got involved in software and effects, and I'd really like to hear how did you create this company?
Well, actually, it started with my husband. Sean Mullen has over 15 years in Hollywood. He's done everything from major motion picture movies to TV shows to music videos. His career is huge, and he's so talented. And when we came together, he kind of started Rampant, and I started seeing him get stressed out, and I was like, I can help with that, and I can help do this. So I started self-teaching myself how to edit. So I learned how to do Final Cut 7 first, and then I switched over to Premiere, and then I learned Final Cut 10. So I just kind of bounced around, and I had this desire to learn how to do what he was doing and this cool stuff that he was doing. So that's what I did. And then from there, we just sort of took on different roles, and I took on the role of CFO to be, take care of the finances and take care of all the customer service and all the bookkeeping stuff and everything that goes along with running a company, there's a lot of stuff for running a company. So he does a lot of the creative stuff, and then I started doing Final Cut plugins. That's our new thing that we have going on. So we're taking our Rampant effects and putting them in Final Cut 10. So it's just a craziness, and I don't know, it's just been this snowball starting out, and we just kind of have evolved from there. And every day I feel like I get a new role. There's always something new. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm this. So it's just
you're wearing many hats.
A lot of hats. Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun to do it.
It sounds to me like a lot of us women in this business, you took it upon yourself to teach yourself what you needed to know. You're a self-starting entrepreneur. You got out there, you learned the tools you needed to learn, you learned the business management skills you needed to learn. That's really, I think, a key to being successful in this industry is we're passionate about what we do and we like to learn. So can you tell me maybe a word or two of advice to a young woman starting out who's interested in running her own company or working in software?
Keep going. That is my biggest advice. It's hard. It is not easy, and every day there's going to be a challenge, but take that challenge, embrace it, and move past it. Like, find a way to solve the challenge, and then tomorrow there'll be another challenge. There's always going to be something, and I think especially running a company and starting a company, if tomorrow you find out you have to have a shopping cart, do this, well, do that. And if it takes you 2 weeks to do that one task, it takes 2 weeks. And then you move on to the next task because there's going to be another challenge. So just keep going. Don't give up. I think that being a woman is difficult in this industry, but stand up, be strong, and you can do it. And I think that just persistence and motivation, keep going. That's basically my biggest advice. Just keep going.
Well, thank you so much for coming here today and motivating us, inspiring me and our viewers. And I appreciate you coming out to speak with Gals in Gear at NAB.
Well, thank you for having me. This is great. This is a great organization, and we're happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Would you like to show off a few examples?
Yes, I would. We have some new stuff. Actually, for NAB, we have 14 new products, which is pretty cool. So we have some new style effects. We have gun stuff. We have some really cool natural flares that are amazingly awesome. And we have new Final Cut plugins. So take a look at those and hope you enjoy.
And where can someone go to get your tools?
If you go to rampantdesigntools.com, you can find everything there.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Craig Adams from CBS 6 WRGB TV in Albany, New York, the world's very first television station. You're watching NAB Show Live.
Live from Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat. Here's your host, Janet West.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to day 3 of NAB Show 2016. And you're here with us in the studio of NAB Show Live. We're talking about sustainability of broadcasting and connected digital media, something that we don't often talk a lot about. And I'd like to introduce, you've been very patient, Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew Bender, who is with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Andrew is Account Chief Technologist of Global Accounts. Now, Andrew, what was the driving force in Hewlett-Packard to address sustainability when obviously this business is moving so fast, but you guys have really got serious about it.
Well, that's right, Janet. And in fact, our heritage back from the days when Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard were in charge, corporate social responsibility has been a part of the culture. It's really been a priority for us. And that carries through to today. There are many facets of that, but under Meg, it's as strong as ever. And we found really that it's good business. You mentioned the change that's happening in the industry dynamics. I know you've done many interviews this week about it. That's certainly something that we see, the transformation that's occurring in the business, and we've designed the new company around that, in fact.
Okay. How does staff relate to you asking for certain changes in the company to become more sustainable?
Well, we have many people who look after this.
Okay.
In fact, we have a chief sustainability officer that reports into the executive team that coordinates these initiatives, but it really goes throughout our supply chain, and not just within the company, but we're a very large global company, and we have many upstream and downstream partners as well. So it's important for us to look after not just what we do, but how we affect the broader community, the supply chain, the life cycle of products, and so forth. So that extends both within and outside the company. In direct response to your question, one thing I would say is in the space where we are most well known, in the IT data center computing sector within Hewlett-Packard Enterprise now, we have invested heavily in efficiency, in complying with the regulations, of course, but there's a business opportunity there to allow downstream customers to leverage our technology innovations to do more with less, to be more cost effective, to greenlight more projects and things like that. So on the whole, I would say it's resistance isn't a problem. In fact, people are very motivated to participate in our initiatives.
Okay, and for those of you who may not know, if you want to buy a new computer, just go onto the Hewlett-Packard website and you can actually see the carbon footprint, and even down to the point whether you change the graphics card for this one or that one, it alters the carbon footprint. So it's been great, and I believe also in the printing business, you've looked at green chemistry.
That's right. So back in November of last year, we did split up our two companies. We were a very large company and collectively Hewlett-Packard. We separated at that time our consumer business, with which many people are familiar with in the broadcast industry, printing, workstations, digital media. So that's an HP Inc. Now, the part of the new company, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, that I work in, Meg's company, is focused on data center computing, what's in the control room, the broadcast center, the cloud. That's the part that we're doing as well. But a lot of the same considerations apply to both of us. We don't print anymore, but we certainly move around all the things that get printed and compute with them and create the inputs and outputs and so forth.
Now, if we go around the show floor here, and I've very quickly gone around when I've been doing interviews, I haven't seen any signs saying we've done this because we're now a bit more sustainable. What have we got to do, and how should we educate? Because I've often thought we're missing a trick here. We're the most creative industry there is, and yet we aren't using our creative ability to educate people so that we see a little bit more of that at an NAB show. How would you address that?
Well, that's a very
Do we
interesting
need more
question.
films, or what is it?
Well, I think that we're great communicators, and we have to communicate what's important to us. So if you are a business and you're looking for a product and a service, find out their supply chain, find out what they're doing, what their sustainability issues are. And if a manufacturer you like for quality reasons isn't doing something, tell them it's important to you and say that is a selling point. I think the reason you're not seeing it being advertised as much is because it's not a huge selling point. People are looking for specific things, and it may not be sustainability.
So we've
Certain
got to make
people-
sustainability sexy.
Exactly.
Okay. Lars, how do you find the communication side? Do you,
Well,
Genelec's brilliant at what they're doing, and yet we see other companies doing absolutely nothing. Is it a communication issue, or is there a perception there's a cost issue?
I think, I mean, particularly in our industry, there are many small companies, and I mean, maybe they don't have the bandwidth to go into it. But then on the other hand, I mean, if you don't talk about it, no progress will happen. And I notice very, very often actually that as soon as I start to talk about sustainability and in combination with our products and so on and so forth, people get very interested.
Yeah.
And particularly young people, they think it's cool.
Well, there's been some studies that actually companies that show that they have a sustainability agenda have a lower churn rate of employees because people want to work for a sustainable company or somebody that's got social responsibility. Andrew, you mentioned something earlier, and that is the cloud. And I think if we look at black smoke coming out of the car, we know it's polluting.
Yeah.
If we look at plastic bottles all over the place here at NAB, we say, hey, that's all got to be recycled or whatever. But when we go to the cloud, and some people still think it's a little cloud up there, we've got huge data centers, but people can't see the environmental impact. Can data centers for the cloud really become green?
Well, yes, absolutely, and that's a place where we've spent a lot of time and a lot of investment recently, specifically because in the media and entertainment business, we see in some of these transformations that are happening, more and more the workflow, the production, these kind of things will happen in a computing environment, in a software-centric environment, and naturally that is in a data center. And the cloud, as you describe it, is made up of data centers underneath. So, in terms of making the cloud green, there are, I think, two main factors of consideration there. One is the product technology itself, allowing extended temperature operation, all kinds of technical things that we continue to come up with to allow the individual machines themselves, compute, storage, network, and all these things, to be more efficient. And that's a key enabler as well. But that's only one part of the equation, is the gear itself. There's also a facility there. So think about building systems, heating and cooling and lighting, and even construction practices.
That's why they're putting data centers in Finland.
Well, that's right. And in fact, we have one of our data center showcase facilities is in County Durham in England on the North Sea for some obvious reasons. Because there you have access to free air cooling and other fortunate attributes of that site that make a showcase facility for us. And in turn, having done that work ourselves, we're in the position to, as we do every day, help the downstream customers who are now doing more and more IT infrastructure, compute in the media entertainment sector, also make green data centers that use alternative energy, that are cost effective to run, and so forth, that are aligned with the business objectives.
But using green energy is great. For example, solar, and there's quite a lot in the desert out here.
That's right.
But as the infrastructure in this business is changing to be more migration to IP, surely that's a whole lot more of disks swirling around. And there are materials you need to excavate, metals and whatever, to actually make all these.
That's right. What I would say is we have learned things in working on applications at internet scale, many of those that we're familiar with, that we use every day, our kids use, and so forth. Also in the high performance computing environment, supercomputers like the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado. We put in a new system there as well that's used for, I would say, sustainability research. Not all of these things are directly applicable to the media business, but there is a lot of trickle-down effects, benefits that we have learned in terms of the special technologies we introduced there that can make the infrastructure green in other industries as well.
Lars, what benefits does Genelec see from being sustainable?
Sorry.
What benefits does Genelec see from being sustainable?
Well, apart from, I mean, satisfying ourselves, I think we also do satisfy customers.
Yeah.
And we see also that, I mean, in bigger tenders and so on and so forth from bigger corporations, particularly in broadcasting, I mean, there are sustainability or, I mean, these criteria is in the specifications.
So you're finding that customers are starting to ask for
Yes.
sustainable products?
Yes.
Okay. What benefits do you see, Tanya, from being green?
Well, we're starting to see it as more of a selling point for our
Okay.
customers. Fortunately, being in the DC area, we are both cursed and blessed with a lot of government business. And that's becoming more and more important for federal agencies, local government agencies, and we do a lot of work with PR firms as well, so the PR firms that work also with these agencies. So for us, it's a benefit personally, because we know that by having solar panels on site, purchasing additional wind energy, making sure our web host is carbon neutral, driving a hybrid electric crew vehicle, using LED lighting, you know, just the steps that we have taken because we wanted to, now have become more important to other people and are becoming more of a selling point of, you know, if all things being equal, you know, they tell great stories and also they are green. And so that's been a benefit to us. We're starting to see more of that as people are becoming more concerned, especially younger people getting more into the media industry.
Yeah.
So we're enjoying it.
A question to all of you. Does it cost more to be a sustainable business?
No,
No.
on the contrary.
On the contrary. Well, I think we saw that with Wendy, didn't we? That she's
Yeah.
making
And I mean,
savings.
there's so many things included in this. For example, changing your lamps to LED. I mean, you save a lot of money. I mean, to make sure that you, I mean, have a culture of turning off the light when you leave a room. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Not have your cell phone charger in the wall all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there is. So I think definitely not. It's a benefit.
Andrew, do you think it costs more to be more sustainable?
Well, it shouldn't if you do it right.
Okay.
I wouldn't say so. Now, since we focus on that from an R&D perspective, we're delivering products that are designed to be efficient. Part of that is in our core R&D investment. Whether that costs more or not, I don't think so. But there's a business outcome benefit for customers that can leverage that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, there's an expectation from the industry and from the customers that doing things the new way versus the old way will be more green, more efficient, and more cost effective. And from a business perspective, that means you're green lighting more projects, you're distributing more content, you're getting more advertising impressions, and doing so with a lower economic and environmental signature. So it should not. It should not.
Okay. I'd like to go on to our mobile connected world, if you like, and the fact that I don't know how frequently most people change their smartphones, but it certainly is a lot shorter time than I think I changed my phone. We are moving to IP-based as opposed to hardware-based, but there's still an awful lot of product in the connected world and broadcasting that we see at shows like here. Get rid of this box, we're going to have a new box. And a lot of this, particularly electronics, is ending up in landfill. How do we change the traditional business model in broadcasting to be a more sustainable business model, particularly where hardware is used?
Well, I have a view. I would say that at present, it's almost unavoidable. If you look throughout the world, there are various regulations now about take back, about reductions, about efficiency targets, and so forth. Especially when you do become a big global business.
Yeah.
But in locales throughout the globe as well. So we have an obligation to participate in that, but rather than be reluctantly dragged along, we think that's an opportunity for us to invest, innovate, and lead in that area. So we do have, I think you're aware of our Living Progress report for the last 15 years. We've had very comprehensive tracking and reporting of the progress that we've made in affecting the human, the economic, environmental signature of what we do, and the objective, even as our business grows, is to have higher performance in all those categories.
I mean, there's a company, for example, in Holland, I can't remember the name for the moment, but they've actually taken a mobile phone, which just looks like any of the Samsung, Apple, whatever, and they actually can replace one of 7 parts to upgrade it. And when you start looking at doing it that way, we can make some savings. And I've often wondered in this industry why we aren't actually making something that you might plug onto the back of a TV to actually make it upgradable rather than throwing the whole thing out. Any comments on the hardware side? Because obviously you're in the hardware side, Lars.
Yes.
You know, how do we change the traditional business model in this industry?
I think, I mean, we have chosen one way, and that is in the cabinets that we use, that I told before, are being made from die-cast aluminium.
Yeah.
Or aluminum, as it's called here in the US. We simply keep the same cabinet design for many, many years.
Okay.
And make no changes to it. I mean, if there are updates, they are inside the cabinet, in the electronics or the drive units and things like that. But we basically have the same type of cabinet for many, many different products and for a long, long, long time.
Yeah. So there's less waste that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any comments at all on that? It's not quite your area, but Tanya?
As a purchaser of hardware,
Oh, yeah, great.
we, being small, we have a little bit more ability to be nimble in some respects that I enjoy purchasing used gear whenever I possibly can, because you often find somebody has used a camera for like one specific project, they no longer want it, and they're now selling it. Great, let's give that some more life. And it's not just the beginning side of the supply chain, like how was it manufactured, what was it used? Yes, what is its lifespan going to be? Is it upgradable? Is it just a firmware update? And when it does finally get to its end of life, what do we do with it at that point? Is there somewhere we can donate it to continue its life a little bit farther? It's maintenance, maintaining your equipment, making sure it stays good and useful. But I think a lot of it is telling manufacturers, hey, this is important. Can we make this camera or this other piece of hardware something that I can just easily adapt to the newer version later, not have to buy an entirely new piece? Can I just swap out, some of the internal parts to make it now go to 8K or whatever the next big thing is?
Yeah. So do the three of you think that perhaps we need new legislation? You talked about take back, but we have exactly the same thing in Europe. We have the WE directive.
That's right.
But one of my professors, for example, went down to the port and saw that actually a lot of the tips, a white van would turn up, pick up all the electronics, go down to the port, and off it went to China and India, because they know they can get out. I don't know if you know, guys, but there's an awful lot of gold, silver, platinum, palladium in your mobile phones. And obviously when that ends up in landfill, a lot of people want that. So do we need more legislation so that that sort of thing doesn't happen? Or how can we recycle properly is my question.
Well, that's important, and I think you've seen regulations follow that need.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to continue to see changes there as awareness elevates, and as manufacturers, if we want to do business, we'll have to support that. One thing I would say is, as regards the life cycle of equipment, one of the things you see in the cloud is there's a consideration where, as we've discussed here already, do you scrap or do you reuse, and how efficiently do you reuse? So,
Or do you remanufacture it?
well, that's right. And of the take back that we do, I think the latest report had said that up to 25% of that is remarketed, reused, donated, and so forth, which is a pretty good diversion rate for electronics. Now, we could certainly do better.
Yeah.
But there are also other things to do upstream, I think, and that includes using, this is one of the areas where we're focused on now, using software intelligence in the cloud to make sure that the compute infrastructure that's there of whatever vintage it is being shared, is being fully utilized at all times of the day or by multiple applications. So you're more effectively using what's there and in making better use of the resources while they're in their life cycle.
Okay. I'm going to ask each of you. A lot of the stands here at NAB, some of the smaller companies perhaps find it more difficult, but what would you say to those companies that haven't got a sustainability strategy, why they should have one? Starting with you, Andrew.
Well,
how would you persuade them?
One thing I would say is ours, at the risk of making a pun here, ours is a very visible industry.
Yeah.
So its attention is not far away. And we think it's, again, a necessary practice of doing business, but there is a provable business benefit in terms of proving efficiency and really just looking after the environmental impact of your operations.
Okay. Lars, what would you say to companies?
Well, I would say that, well, you have to do it, otherwise you will be left behind, because I mean, the longer time it goes, I mean, the more the customer will require you to be sustainable and green. And if you're not, I mean, you're going to be out of business.
Okay. A couple of points very briefly from you, Tanya.
What
would you say to them?
I would say you definitely need to consider sustainability, because it's been unsustainable up to this point in a broad range. To keep going forward, we have to make it sustainable.
Okay, this has been fascinating. I'm absolutely delighted that you've joined. I know Wendy's gone to bed now, but thank you very much for Wendy. So I'm going to say thank you to Lars, to Tanya, and to Andrew. We have been talking about sustainability on NAB Show Live. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, those of you at home. I'm on tomorrow at 10 o'clock, where you're going to find out where's the broadcasting industry going. See you then. Stay safe in Vegas.